Welcome to Modelverse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to work on my standard English tree, which is really just some aluminum with felt or craft foam or suede stacked on top to give it some shape. It was never exactly the way I wanted it. The only way to do that would be to create and then cast an English tree. So that's what we're going to do here. This is the third attempt I've made. I've got one for dressage, one for just classic sized, and then I've got this one here will be traditional sized. Basically, I just took the tree pattern from my English saddle tree, and now I'm kind of covering it with some Sculpey. It's aluminum is the base. We call it an armature. So I can put this with Sculpey because I can put it in the oven, and other material might burn. So I'm really just sculpting this the way I want it. Mostly it was the back of the seat and the top of the seat just didn't look all that comfortable. It's very flat. So I'm trying to round all of that, and then the back of the seat, go ahead and give that just a little bit more form. Um, and yeah, that's really all I'm doing here. Probably I didn't want you to sit through the whole process, but it took time to sculpt it the way I want. And as you can see, a lot of it was adding, and now I'm smoothing it out. And I wasn't sure if I needed anything for those arms. Actually, it was thin enough that the acrylic could fit in there. I didn't know if I want to make them thicker. I think ultimately I decided, nah, I don't really need that. So I'm smoothing out that area because that's important for putting the jockeys on. You can see it took me some time. It took me some time. Okay, so I wanted to make sure this is going to fit with my pattern. So I cut some pieces out of paper and then pressed those jockeys in to the clay to get a line of where I wanted it. And then also to make sure that, all the other pieces fit because this is part of an entire puzzle. So here's the seat, making sure that the seat piece, well, that'll probably have to be modified a little bit for the back, but at least I've got an idea of, see right there, that indent, that's really important for fitting those jockey pieces. And just using the pattern as my guide on the tree itself. And I think I got that line right. I could technically go without padding once I'm done here. I used up very thin felt instead, just to make sure that I had smooth edges, but you'll see that. Every time you make a change like this, there's going to be changes to the pattern, and I was trying to make it as few changes as possible. So this I made specifically for this English saddle pattern. There we go. So those are going to fit nice once they're made out of leather. Went ahead and made sure everything was smooth, and then it's time to bake it. Okay, so it didn't bake for very long, maybe 7 minutes. And now I'm going to put down a mat that protects my work surface because it's easier to throw these cheap things away than it is to buy a new board. But anyways, what I'm doing is I'm sealing it up with acrylic nail polish or enamel nail polish because the Sculpey and the silicone rubber don't get along really well. So I'm going to seal up the whole thing. The other benefit of this, it comes out of the mold because it's non-porous. So it comes out of the mold a lot easier. And I'm just, letting that dry before I move on to the next spot. And I like that nail polish usually does dry pretty fast, so that's what I use. So this will be my mother. If I like it, I'll make more out of this. If I don't like it, then the first casting, I'll shave it down or reshape it, and then I'll use that casting as the mother because rubber molds don't last all that long. Okay, so now I'm going to get out my measuring cups for my silicone rubber. I happen to know, having done this before, that I'm going to need a lot of this. 3 of these mixtures. Okay, so I'm getting half of the A mixture, half of the B mixture. It's just the silicone rubber molding stuff you can find on Amazon, you can find on Temu. Okay, so I'm preparing one of these cups. It's a container that's big enough for this mold. Put a little bit of glue on the bottom. I've decided that the seat is where I'm going to be putting the acrylic in. I found that using straight pins, a little glue on the bottom, that helps a lot to just keep it in place, and it doesn't really leak. I'm also using this mold release and conditioner, just to help it leave the mold the very first time. So you don't need too much. If you use too much, it'll pool, and then that pooling of the oil or whatever it is, that will become part of your mold. All right, so now I'm going to use another one of these cups, a disposable cup. I know I got to get something that's not disposable, but I'm going to mix up A and B, and I need enough to fill up the other cup. So that was the first one, and now I'm doing the second one. And I'm just going to make sure that's even. You got to have even. It's got to be 50-50, not 49-51. It really needs to be 50-50. Of course, there's a lot more forgiveness when it's a bigger batch like this. Smaller molds are a little bit more picky. So just going to go ahead and keep mixing that. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think I'm going to need more, but I'm stirring it because as I get more in there, it's going to be harder to stir. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring it in. Make sure it's right in the middle. And like I said, the acrylic is going to go through the seat. So right now, this is upside down. So as you can see, I still have, I can see that mold at the top. So I want to cover that completely and give the mold a really good base. It'll last longer and it'll be less likely to leak if it has a really good base. So see, not quite as much as the other two cups. I didn't fill it up quite as high, a little bit. See where that black line is? That's what I did. Didn't need as much. I don't really need to go all the way to the top, but I wanted to make sure that I had plenty. So last mix. And you can do this in batches because it has a considerably long work time. I think it's about an hour. It never takes me that long. But there you go. That is the mold. Okay, I always try to make sure I mark my molds. So this one here is ready to be split open. I pulled out that pen, and now I'm going to rip the paper off because we don't need it. So it's really important to have something where you can get it out of, right, to hold it. That was the glue. It never dried. It's 24 hours later, it never dried. Now I'm looking for the back of the tree. I don't want to do the front. I'm going to pull this from the back of the tree. That way the arms pull out easier. And I'm just going to cut with a razor knife down the spine of the tree. I don't want to go all the way down. I just want to go far enough that I can get the tree out. And again, nice base. So I'm not going to accidentally go all the way through and then have a leaky mold. So that should be about enough. And now I need to pull it a little bit more out of there until I can pull that tree out of the mold. There you go. There's the mother is out and the mold is ready. Okay, so now it's time to actually cast the mold. I've got the dressage and an English saddle tree here I want to do. I've got my acrylics, I've got a mixing cup, I've got a stir stick, and then I've got a pipette. All right, so I'm not going to do much here. I think I went to the 5 level and then went ahead and mixed that up in that little disposable mixing cup. Bought those on Temu. I like to try and reuse my measuring cups as much as possible. I'm going to do a little bit of a mold release on these just to open them up and very, very lightly put the this in there just to make it a little bit easier to get it out of the mold. Don't want very much at all because it can become part of your tree if it pools. Okay, so I'm mixing up the acrylic. I'm going to use this pipette. Now, you're supposed to mix it longer than that, but I didn't make you watch. It was like 3 minutes. But anyways, I'm going to get it into this pipette. And because of those wings, they're so thin, I'm trying to force it in there into where those wings are. So I'm going in, finding that part, and then after I get those filled, I go ahead and use, just scrape the rest in there. It wasn't quite enough, so I needed to do a second tree anyways. But there's me finishing up the first one. No leaks, no rubber bands, nothing special to keep it together. And then after I did the 2 trees, anything left over, I made some more knee blocks. Here we are, 24, actually 48 hours later. It's kind of cold in my room, so it takes about 48 hours for these. But there you go. That's what it looks like. There's some rough spots. It's not perfect. I mean, it still needs some work. It adds more time to your finished project. And then just so you can see, I went ahead and pulled out the other one. So I've got 2 different shaped trees. One's dressage, one's English, different seat height. See? And if I don't like it or if it's rough, then I'm going to go ahead and get out my nail drill. And that's what I'm doing here, just kind of smoothing it out, all the rough spots. Here we go. Now this is my original saddle pattern, my saddle tree pattern, perfectly fine. It's the same English saddle pattern. The tree is made from aluminum and it's wonderful to start with. Works fine. Used it in showing all the time, so do a lot of other people. But the profile is just subtly off. And to build it up to look like an acrylic tree it's just a pain and it's hard to teach. But if you want to go ahead and use that same aluminum tree as an armature, you can do a build up to give it just that subtle difference. This is the same exact English saddle pattern that I have for sale. And the only thing is I made a different tree. Same exact size and everything. But if you look at it, it's subtle. It's so subtle. But it looks more comfortable to ride. The seat in the back comes up a little higher. You do have to know how to deal with the higher thing in the back, the higher seat in the back. But if you look at it, it's just enough of a difference that I think it looks more realistic. So if you really want that subtle difference and you're ready to take your tack making to that next level by sculpting your own tree, I've shown you how to do it. I've shown you how to make the mold. I've shown you how to cast it. And then the pattern does not change. But there you go. I like this very much. I like the new silhouette. I think it looks more realistic and very happy with how that turned out. Well, thank you for spending time with me today. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and have a good day.